Welcome back, everybody, to Tagonda Talkline.
I'm Hunter.
I'm Jared.
And I'm going to start with our fact segment again. I'm going to tell a story about the video game called Super Mario Galaxy. Yeah, it's really integral to my life story, I think. The first time I ever even saw the game at all, we went to Texas with our family to see some friends. I was in second grade. I don't know if I said that already, but I was in second grade and we went. And I saw that game on their Wii. I saw the title screen and I was like, oh my god, it's like Mario, but like you can move in 3D. I mean, second grade brain, I don't think you actually understand the significance of that. But like this isn't, Super Mario Bros. On the DS. This is the real deal here. And I begged my parents to buy it for me when we got back. And I got it and I played, I think I got to the second level. It was like the first star in Good Egg Galaxy and like the second planet. And I couldn't beat it and I like cried. And then I remember talking to my friends at school, like, yeah, I'll sell you this game if you want it. Like, it's impossible or broken or something because I can't get past the first level. And then I think through elementary school and middle school, I made some progress. And around probably 7th grade, I'd been working on it with a friend, trying to like actually finish the whole thing. We got to maybe 2 levels left on my Wii, and I tried and I couldn't figure it out. And then for like 3 years, I just abandoned it and kept replaying the levels I'd finished already without trying. Like I had such a mental block on this fucking Mario game. And after my senior year of high school in the summer, I was working kind of part-time. It wasn't like full 40 hours, so I had some time off. And towards the end, I'm like, you know what? I've had this game for almost 10 years. I think it's now or never. So I tried the same way I'd been trying, no luck. And I looked up a strategy. It was much easier than the way I'd been trying. And then I beat the game on my 18th birthday. It was almost exactly 10 years after I'd bought the game. It was a really special moment for me.
Damn.
Yeah, so that's a little story about me. But anyway, today's a special episode for 2 reasons.
It is.
One, it's Jared's birthday. Happy birthday, Jared. Jared's 20 years old.
Yep, finally learned how to read.
Finally learned how to read. And the second reason is we have a guest, Kevin.
Hello.
Hello, this is our friend Kevin. You want to introduce yourself?
Sure. So my name's Kevin. I've known Hunter for probably, I'd say like 15 years almost at this point, right? Kindergarten class?
15 years. Yeah, I guess that would be 15 now.
Yeah. So I've known Hunter for a long time. I've also known Jared for a really long time. I think I met you in
5th grade.
Yeah, 5th grade. So I've known these guys for pretty much most of my life at this point.
Yeah.
At least almost.
15 years would be 3/4 of your life.
Yeah.
If my calculations are correct.
Yeah. So that's kind of great. I've lived more of my life like knowing you guys than not knowing you, which is interesting.
Weird. Wow. Holy cow.
But yeah, so yeah, I've known these guys for a while, so a lot of the free time we have, we end up kind of just spending together doing whatever. I guess a common theme in like a lot of the stuff we do is we're usually outside for most of what we do.
And that leads into what we're going to talk about today.
Oh my god, no way. What a brilliant segue by the two of you there.
Very interesting, collaborative.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of talking about all the fun times and adventures we've had. Practically the 3 of us together, kind of either being outside, just walking around, seeing where we're going, or doing other various things.
Yeah, just exploring like all the public nature. Maybe not public all the time, but all the nature around us. Mostly public nature around us that we can explore. Jared, do you want to start with the PVC pipe story?
Yes. So this is a kind of a very interesting story, because I think it's one of the craziest ones that we've ever had. But
Muy loco.
Muy loco.
Yeah.
But one day, the 3 of us and then 2 other friends of ours were kind of hanging out, and we were going to kind of start playing some Dungeons and Dragons, but we eventually kind of said, just screw it, let's just go outside and take a walk. And that's what we did. And so I think by your house, Kevin, there's, I don't know what to call it.
It's a preserve.
Okay.
I think preserve is lightly used.
Oh, that's
though, just
true,
because there is like an actual. Well, I guess preserve's gonna have hiking trails in them.
I guess they did develop on it at one point.
Yeah.
And then they covered it up.
It's gone through a lot. Originally, it was just an old abandoned construction project.
Yeah.
And then it became a dump, and then they cleaned it up, and now it's a.
It was going to be a subdivision at one point too.
Yeah,
and
and
then
then
a community. There's going to be like
Yeah, you're right.
Condos
They're
and,
they're gonna have a and then they were gonna make it a what's it called? What's that place? I feel like an idiot. I can't think. It's like that wooden circle thing.
The wooden circle thing.
It's like a wooden circle thing, not a patio. You like stand in it and you're like
Gazebo?
Yeah, gazebo. That's what I was thinking of. They were gonna add a gazebo up there and make it like a park.
The old wooden circle.
Yeah, the old white wooden circle. And
Anyways, so we were up there, and
It's right adjacent to his neighborhood.
Yeah.
yeah, it's like a 5-minute.
We
walk,
walked
not even.
through, and then eventually we got to a point where I don't think the three of us have ever gone, and we were like, just screw it, let's just walk through the forest, and we just picked a direction.
Yeah,
And-
we tried to, I think, go to the Girl Scout property that we knew was kind of close to it, right?
Well, not initially. I think originally, like we had reached
yeah,
the end
we
of the
just
trail,
reached the
and we
end.
wanted to find a new hiking trail.
Okay, yeah,
So we started because I remember we started down like a very slightly developed path, and we're like, I wonder where this leads, and then it just ends in like thicket.
Yeah,
And
so
then-
we got basically to an edge,
Okay, it must continue on the
and
other side.
it was just all thorns.
Yeah.
And we just saw behind like this kind of wall of thorns was kind of a clearing, and then more kind of like foresty area with trees.
Yep.
So we went through there, and because as we're passing there, I think you, Kevin, found I think 2 or 3 just deer antlers on the
Yeah.
ground.
Oh my god, I forgot about that. It
Yes. So that was the first interesting thing we found.
was a bad omen.
Yeah.
Yeah, a sign of things to
A sign
come.
of death.
So as we're kind of walking through the forest, picking up various things, then we come into contact with some just PVC pipe laying on the ground.
Well, okay, so I think as like when the property was being developed, so to speak, like when they were considering doing that, I think they like ran a water line through there. That's why like there was that like roped off area, and that's why there are little valves and like inlets of pipes, PVC pipes sticking up in the ground, because I think there was a water main in there at one point.
There was, but I'm pretty sure that this PVC pipe was definitely abandoned.
Yeah,
Because it was just
Yeah.
out of the ground, left alone.
it's pretty crusty.
It
So
was sun dried and cracked and everything.
no, it wasn't sun dried, but it
It was
was
weathered.
definitely weathered.
Like
So
an
I
Italian
broke off like I think maybe 10 feet
Yeah,
worth
that's
of good pipe, and I took one of the kind of massive 18-inch slivers of PVC pipe and just shoved it into the top of it and made a spear
That's right.
or a javelin, as I
Yeah.
was an avid javelin thrower. in high school.
Avid javelin.
Avid, yeah.
Okay.
So we had that, and we were just walking through the forest, and eventually it got to the point where we were too far forward in our journey to start heading back before it got dark. So we looked on our phones on Google Maps to find the closest like way to get to the road, because kind of surrounding us was
It
just.
wasn't getting dark. It was in the morning, I thought.
I think
Well,
it was
I
just-
think the concern was we were just trying to find a way back, and I think Jared is right because we had gotten to a point where we weren't getting like I think only Hunter's phone had cell phone service because all of us were trying to
and
find
we
it.
were on, we had like climbed up hills. So
Yeah.
a lot of the area around us was just like not really sheer drop offs, but very steep.
Descents, yeah.
Also, I don't know if we knew exactly where we came from.
Exactly.
It was the other thing.
probably got
We just knew we had to go
turned
back
around.
at some point.
Yeah,
and we
time I
didn't
guess
know.
was a concern probably.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so again, the Hunter's phone I think only had service, but we saw that we were very close by to a supposedly abandoned Girl Scout camp, and eventually, if it's there, that means there's a way for us to go from there to the road.
Yes.
And we saw that the road was the road was super close
Yeah.
to the actual camp. So we're like, all right, let's just head in that direction. Once we see the camp, it's abandoned, no one's gonna be there, and then we can just walk straight down the street to get to the road. Mm-hmm. So we start going. We walk down this massive hill, and we eventually get to like a massive, like kind of dead end turnaround thing, which was made of asphalt. So we knew.
I think we had to climb a fence to get into it. Though.
I don't think we had to climb a fence. I think it was just like a rope.
I don't even think it was a road. I honestly. Okay, so this is what I remember. Maybe I'm remembering the story incorrectly now, but at first I thought we didn't even know it was a Girl Scout camp. We just looked, and it was like the shortest distance from the road was just in a straight line. So we started walking, and we found like, you know those like stone walls that are in Connecticut where they're
Yeah,
just like
yeah.
they're like 3 stones high, and
Yes.
they're
Okay.
old, right?
Yeah, got
I
it.
think we just saw that in the forest, and we're like, what even is this property that's connected to?
Yeah, but then I think you said that it was the Girl Scout camp, and then you said it was abandoned.
Well, okay, no, I remember. I didn't think it was abandoned. It was Labor Day because we had the day off of school, and that's why everybody was over at my house. And I think all of us were like, Girl Scout camps don't meet in the winter, and if they did, why would they come
Labor
for a
Day's not-
3-day
Labor
weekend?
Day's in September.
Not Labor Day. No, I think it was Labor Day, but it wasn't the
Was
winter.
it Veterans Day maybe?
It wasn't.
Maybe
It wasn't that early.
I remember we had a day off of school because that's why all 5 of us were there.
It might have been a PD day or something.
Well, because I just remember we were talking about it and we're like, I was
could've
almost
been a
positive
half
that it was
day.
closed.
Yeah,
I was almost positive it was closed.
I'm pretty sure it was November.
Yeah. Well,
Sure,
regardless,
yeah,
we
okay,
thought
something
it.
like that.
We
It
thought
wasn't
it was
warm.
closed.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah, it
were
wasn't
like,
warm.
at this time, and I think it was maybe like a Friday or a Monday. Had to have been.
Sure.
Yeah.
So
something
it was
like
most likely no one was going to be there. So we start walking, and at this point, a few of us are covered in like mud, leaves, dirt,
that. Debris.
I think.
I'm still holding the antler.
I think I was.
You look like a
I
killer.
I have 3 discarded deer antlers
I
in my
was.
hands.
My arms and legs were torn to shreds by all the thorns.
All right, shreds.
Just shreds. I was literally like.
Man was shambling
Yeah.
to get into the road.
So I was all cut up, and it was the 5 of us. I think we were all 18 at the time,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
roughly around there, walking out of the forest. And we're walking. We see a building, and we don't hear anything. And we're like, all right, we don't see any cars. We don't see any lights. No one's here. And we start walking. All of a sudden, we start hearing like high pitched voices, and like the sound of like a middle school or an elementary school, like kids lining up for lunch.
Yeah.
And then we come over the crest of a hill, and we just see it's not abandoned, and it's full of Girl Scouts who I think are either being dropped off for a long weekend or just leaving the long weekend.
Yeah, something.
And as we come over, like all the adults immediately look at the 5 guys who just emerged from the forest, and then I think Kevin, you and
One of whom was holding
a spear.
a torn PVC pipe.
Yeah.
Kevin and I think Joe, our friend, you guys just immediately ran.
Okay, wait, let me say this though, because looking over the hill, at first we had run backwards into the forest. To be fair, we didn't. It's not like we didn't like shoot through anything.
No,
we
you
looked over the hill.
ran
We saw
back.
there were all the like little girls, and we were like, "This is obviously not abandoned." I think this calls for a reassessment of the best way to get to this road. So then Joe and I start leaving, and then.
But no one else knew about this plan.
Well, because Joe and I just had a mutual
also,
understanding.
leaving is a really generous description of what you guys did.
We saw people and then you ran.
We
which
hit the
didn't help our
forest.
case.
We were back in the forest before we decided to just stick with
so
you guys.
we started going, and then we still didn't know where to go. So I just walked up to the nearest adult woman I saw, and I'm covered head to toe, and again cuts, dirts, and whatever else was there.
Yeah.
And I'm holding a spear, and I'm like, "Hey, can you point me to the road?" And she doesn't even answer me. She just points down the street. I'm like, "Oh, thanks." And then I keep walking, and then I think after a while, you, Kevin, and Joe started walking back, and then we were berated by harmful insults from all the Girl Scouts imitating us.
Really?
Yes,
I don't remember
I'm
that
pretty
part
sure we
of the
got
story.
mocked.
I definitely got mocked. And then we eventually got to the road, and we walked back to Kevin's house, and to this day, I still have that PVC pipe.
Yeah. Also, a quick aside. I don't know if you guys know this because I just happened the other day. I don't know if I told you, but so I haven't talked to Joe in a while, just
Yeah.
because college and everything.
Yeah.
And he reached out to me just kind of like out of the blue, and he sent me a relationship, like his ancestry. And he is President James Madison's 3rd cousin 6 times removed. And he sent me that and said, "I thought you'd appreciate this." So no relevance to the PVC wielding Jared or anything.
But that was so we were essentially
we were with royalty
going hiking.
almost.
Yeah, basically.
With the president of the United States.
With direct history of our country.
Yeah, he's related, like you have to go back like five like grandparents or whatever, and then it was like the firstborn daughter of James Madison's like great grandfather or something. It was interesting, but just a little fun fact for you that we were traveling with His Excellency.
His Highness Joe. Anyway, but you were gonna say one of the other things we do a lot
Oh yeah.
when we are outside is specifically.
So other than just wandering in the forest aimlessly, we do something called geocaching, which to briefly explain for maybe anybody who doesn't geocache, so you download like an app and it'll tell you a set of coordinates that are
You
somewhere.
don't have to download an app.
No, you don't.
Well, or you could be with somebody who downloads an app, or you could
Yep.
just know where it is, I guess. But
you can
it's
look
on a
online.
database online.
yeah, okay. To be fair, you can also download that or go to the website. But Basically, what somebody will do is they'll take some kind of container or canister, and sometimes they can be like a small pill bottle, or they can be like a lunchbox, and they'll put a piece of paper in it to like sign your name if you find it, and they'll hide it in a spot and then just give you the coordinates, and then you have to go to that location. Sometimes there's like a hint, maybe like where you could find it.
Well, you have to use your GPS to get sort of close,
yeah.
and then just start looking around.
Yeah. So we do geocache a lot, even like now. Obviously, maybe not so much in quarantine, but like pre-quarantine days, we were geocaching
I think
often.
we found at least 150 probably together.
Yeah. We'd come up with like nicknames for each other even too.
Yeah, that's right. Think. You were Eagle Eye?
Yeah, because I think so. In geocaching, there's a term which I don't know if we've ever secured one, but it's called the first to find.
Yeah.
Where it's like if somebody hides it and you find it before anybody else, then you're like the first person to find it. So I don't know if we've ever done that, but oftentimes when we were looking, I'd say maybe a little more than half of them I found. I just I spotted them. So
undoubtedly.
Yeah. So that was interesting. But with like just in geocaching for 180 caches or whatever it ended up being, we ended up coming across some kind of cool places, and Jared started keeping memorabilia from some of the more notable places. Well, I guess not even more notable. You just found weird things at some of the places.
Anytime we were outside, you could give me 5 minutes and I'll walk into the forest and then come out with something strange.
Yeah. So, do you want to talk about the
Great Cedars?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, there's a preserve like 30 minutes from us. It's actually, relatively speaking, it's not that big. It's probably like 2 or 3 square miles, if that. But we were there for an hour because, when you look for these things, you sometimes spend like 20 minutes looking for one. And it was a neat preserve too. Like, it had a river running through in like an old dam. It was on the side of like a retention pond behind like some industry building or something.
That, or I think construction.
Yeah, either way. It was a neat place. So we were having fun, like climbing trees and shit too. We had found, I think, 4 or 5 of them there. Yeah. One because it was in a rock wall near like a little waterfall.
Yeah.
We had a little toy frog there. Do you remember that?
I remember that. We had to like climb down half of a riverbank to get to.
Yeah.
I remember that.
And we were getting to the end, and part of the preserve intercepts a power line, a power corridor, to use the technical term.
Sure.
And there's like a access road that goes along it, and we were like, oh, maybe this isn't a good idea. Maybe we should be on this property. But I think it was just part of the park. Either way, we were still trudging along, and we were underneath power lines, so there's like debris on the ground, and there was a broken segment of a ceramic insulator, like the things that shield people, and metal on the ground from however many thousands of volts are traveling through those cables. And they're like, the insulators like have 8 or 10 like ceramic sections.
Yeah,
it was
just
like 1 or 2 of them that had smashed off, right?
I think I can probably post a picture to the Instagram, but it's definitely very interesting. And it wasn't one of the only things that I found. Aside from that, also I found a broken weed whacker next to one of the power lines.
Was that there too? You found
that? But I couldn't take that back with me.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I remember that actually. That's right, you did.
Yeah, because I think at that point, I didn't want to get Hunter's car any more dirty than it has, because I quote unquote fell into a river prior.
Yeah, that's right.
Because we were walking over this like little bridge that kind of went into like a little stream that cut into the forest, and then as we were walking, we saw kind of in this water this like weird massive white thing just floating there, and we were all kind of curious what it was. So there was a big tree kind of fallen over, hanging off like in the middle of the river. So I walked on there, and then with a stick, I was able to kind of wedge it in there and pull it out. And then I unbent it, and it turned out to be like a sign that said no like ATVs or motorcycles in the forest, but it had been shot down by like a .22 gun.
That's right. Yeah.
And then just thrown in the river. And then I think
that's kind of right there.
As I tried to get back onto the riverbank, I stepped onto like right at the edge of where the river meets dirt.
Yep.
And it was just complete mud, and I sank right through.
Yep.
I think then when I pulled my foot up, I lost one shoe, so I had to pull that out. and then when I went to step off the other foot, that foot went in and I lost that shoe. And at that point, I was just soaking wet with both feet. And then that was about it.
I think actually that's happened on more than one occasion. I think
I
can think of
water.
I think that's because
I can think of 2 separate instances where we were trying to get a geocache and there was like a small, I wouldn't even call it a river, it's like a brook almost.
that you could have crossed easily.
Yeah, and then
well, I
Jared
think
fell in
sometimes
twice.
you guys wear like boots, and I didn't have boots at the time.
Yeah.
Well,
you're
I
right.
can think of we
did have boots on.
That's true.
And
Also,
I don't have boots. I have sneakers that I've
Yeah.
worn on all the times we've ever gone geocaching.
Yeah.
And
So
Yeah.
the thought was it wouldn't have been an issue.
yeah.
it doesn't even matter anyway. I'll throw them in the dryer in the washer.
Also,
I
you
guess so.
usually tried to
geo
you would take
shoes.
like fallen trees to walk over, and then I would like walk around where the brook ends
I
usually.
use my engineering skills, build bridges.
Yeah, build bridges out of what nature gave you.
Yep.
So that's
I
just something that
don't
comes to
remember
mind.
all the caches that were there. The,
No,
the one
yeah.
that only comes to mind really was the one in the wall near the
I think that was the
waterfall.
coolest one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think even that you had to jump over like a 2-foot gap.
Was that where the twisted spoon was? Where we found there was a spoon that somebody had like heated and then
no,
bent in half?
that
Or was that?
was with Ryan.
Yeah, but that wasn't Cedars.
No, that was a completely different place.
Oh, okay. I was just thinking nature, and I feel
Yeah,
like
no, that was.
remember-
I think that was the year before, actually.
really.
Yeah, but we found like a couple that day. You
Okay.
remember?
Yeah. Once you get to like the hundreds, I think it's just
Yeah,
it start to
blurs
blur together.
That's all I'm saying. It's all just Tupperware containers, like in between forks of trees. Like, all right, come on.
Yeah, but it never
Spice
gets
it up a
old.
little bit.
Aside from memorabilia, though, that we kind of get back from different geocaching adventures, something else is kind of just like the feeling of achieving a very hard geocache.
Yeah.
Because there
Yeah.
are, I think it's difficulty
And
and
terrain. Yeah, they're each out of 5 stars.
And so
On the
it's out of 5
website,
stars.
each one is like each one in the database has all these attributes to it. You can see.
So
And-
something could have like a 1-star in terrain,
Yep.
but a 5-star difficulty, which may mean there's like a puzzle or it's like very well hidden.
Yeah, or camouflage or something.
But something could be like a 1-star difficulty, but like super hard terrain.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
But this one I think was 5-star in each.
Which one?
Are you talking about the
The
mountain?
mountain. Oh boy, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
That's got. I think that's the number 1 story. I think.
Yeah.
I think that's the goat geocache.
So I guess wait. So do you want to preface what had actually led us to that location?
I don't remember what did. Were we back there before?
So, yeah,
you guys,
so-
Were we just
you guys
looking
found it
for a-
first, and
Oh,
then
no.
you
So
told me.
we had never found it. So what had happened is
We
since
wanted-
we started geocaching, we started at like a closer radius to my house.
Yeah.
Then we just went farther out and farther out.
Right.
And this geocache wasn't that far, so Hunter and I were like, oh, let's go check it out, see if it's an easy one. And we're walking, and I wouldn't describe it as a valley so much. It's just like we were at the bottom of
Yeah.
a cliff, pretty much. And we're looking at the geocache.
in the woods. It was a
Yeah, and
cliff
it was
face in the woods.
decent.
it was
in
a
the
trail,
woods.
but like
It was like
to the
3/4
right
of a
of it
mile.
was like marsh.
It was
Yeah.
like double track, like
yeah,
deep trail.
and to the left of it was just like sheer cliff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Probably
we
like 30 feet.
the GPS told us it was like 10 feet to our left. So we were going 10 feet to the left, and there's just a cliff. And we're looking at the base, and we're like, man, did they hide it in some like nook here? Because geocaching GPS doesn't do elevation or anything.
Yeah.
So we're looking, and we're like, I guess it must not be. So we circled around to the top of the cliff, and we're looking, and we see that going down the cliff, there are like little handholds.
Well,
and
we say circle around to the top. Like the cliff was, a
Oh,
quarter of
no.
a mile long, but like eventually it sloped down the sides, and you could leave the
Yeah.
trail.
It sloped enough where you could kind of climb up a bit on the side at
Yeah.
an angle and then kind of like switch back all the way up till you got above it.
But there was like
Yeah.
a quarter mile of just sheer face.
Oh
yeah.
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 And even when we did find the way up, it wasn't like a super gradual hill. Like you kind of almost still were rock climbing. Like, you'd have to grab
Yeah,
on
that's true,
trees
yeah.
and kind of pull yourself
You're right,
up.
you're right.
So we had found that, and we realized that there was no way we were going to get this with at least us. There was
Yeah.
no way that with what we had there, we weren't.
Well, so you
gonna-
said we had gotten up there and we saw the thing on the cliff face.
Well,
right?
did we see the geocache? I thought we just saw like a hole in the cliff, and we are like, oh, I bet that's where that is.
I don't know if you saw it.
Because okay, so here's the thing. I don't actually, to this day, I don't know what it looks like. I know that we found it and I've logged it, but I don't know what the geocache looks like itself.
I think, yeah.
I think
technically.
it was like a Tupperware container wrapped in camo duct tape,
And then it was
Yeah.
and then it
string
was
was
just
tied
shoved in
to
a crevice.
Okay.
Was there any way we could have seen it from the top then?
No,
Because we didn't climb down at all.
I didn't even see it. I was
Yeah.
gonna move past it.
But like
Yeah.
from being on top of the cliff and on the fire road next to it, and like using our GPS, we like had
There was
determined
yeah.
what
There's
the
no
yeah.
way
cliff
you
face.
could unless you knew where to look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's easier to you obviously know where to look.
Yeah.
But just literally scanning the cliff, you would never see it.
So how, I guess, and before we go into Jared's part, how tall would you say the cliff is for?
The top was probably 30 feet above the
Yeah, okay.
No more.
35.
Are you talking about above the actual cache or the whole height?
No, from the
whole
road.
height.
From the road to
From
the
the
top of
road,
the
maybe
cliff.
50 feet.
No, it was not 50.
Absolutely.
50 feet's huge.
40. Take it or leave.
Maybe 40. 50 feet is
Yeah, 50
monstrous.
feet is
I don't
like
know if
2.5 houses, pretty much.
We should probably go back at some point.
Okay,
It was a tape measure and
Imagine it's
measure.
anywhere from 30 to 200 feet.
it ranges from the Marianas Trench to Mount Everest.
It's definitely a possibly deadly cliff.
Yeah, you could fall and die on.
I wouldn't have even attempted it, honestly.
So you guys obviously found that.
You wouldn't
And
have.
then
No, but I'm weak-willed, I suppose.
then-
So
I think another time that we all three were over at Kevin's house, he was talking about it. And then you had to do what?
So I was taking AP Bio, and at the end of the year project was we had to take daily temperature measurements across our town, and I was in a group of like a bunch of people, so we'd go to like northeast, east, southeast, like that kind of thing, and just take measurements of temperature. So they'd come over, and I realized I was like, oh shoot, I have to go take this temperature. So I took them with me. And coincidentally, the geocache, like the beginning of that trail that the geocache was on,
Yeah.
was like maybe a 2-minute walk down the road. Like it wasn't far at all. So I took them to the temperature spot, and then I think it was it you who had mentioned that you remember we were talking about it?
I think you brought it up
Okay,
because
it was close. I know it was close.
I think you brought it up, and then I don't know how, but I had some sort of rope. And
Yeah.
I was like, let's do it right now. But it was literally the sun was almost done setting at that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah,
We're like, no, let's reschedule.
Another time.
yeah.
So eventually we reschedule, and I bring a childhood jump rope that we had from my house.
Wait, can you describe the condition of this jump rope?
I think it was,
Don't lie.
I don't know, maybe 8 years old at the time.
Yeah.
And it was like a 10-foot just red jump rope that you like buy from the massive spools at Home Depot.
Mm-hmm.
So I think my parents just got that, and then they just tied like knots in the ends so that it like wouldn't fray.
It definitely wasn't climbing.
It was
standard.
no, it was
Yeah,
not.
it was
fun.
not, not meant for recreational
So
purposes.
we brought that, and then we go, and
Yeah, maybe
then
not that record.
we spend the whole time just trying to find that one cache. So we get to the cliff,
Mm.
and then we were like, all right, let's just see again if it's not really up there. Maybe it's just like 10 feet off the ground. So we walked right up to the base of the cliff, but the problem is that the whole base of the cliff, I don't know if you remember, was just all ant nest.
Yes, I
Yes.
do remember that.
So
I remember
the
that.
moment
Like there was
you
like a little bit of like a ditch between
there was
the
like
fire
trail,
road and the actual
ditch,
cliff.
and
Yeah.
then there was like grass, and then right at the cliff.
Yeah, and then
But the
ditch
moment
was,
you
like, the
stepped
most
in the
foul,
grass,
infested, like
it was just ants everywhere.
yes,
And so that made it basically impossible to check the bottom of the cliff.
yeah,
Yeah.
So eventually, I think we looked at the commons.
yeah, like the recent finds.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it hadn't been found in several years.
I don't know
Well,
about several years, but it hadn't been found in a while.
I think it was at least like a year or two.
It was.
Maybe.
I know it was a good one. I'd have to
Yeah.
check again, but
But anyways, so we're like, all right, let's just go. So I took the jump rope, and I walked again up that like switchback, and I got like kind of. When we looked at the GPS, it showed like a direction.
Yeah,
Like we were vaguely sure it was in like this 45-degree angle kind of
In front of
range.
us.
from where we were standing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think both of you stood down there and continued to like try to get like where it was.
Yep.
mm.
And then I tied, of the 10 feet, 2 loops for my legs and then around my waist, which left me with maybe 5 or 6 feet of jump rope, which I tied to like the roots of a tree. And then I climbed down to a little ledge on the cliff. Then I stood there, untied it from the root, tied it to another root on that cliff. Then I went down, and I think I did that maybe like 2 or 3 times. So it was roughly about like half to like 2/3 of the way up. and then I like sat down on a ledge, and I was like talking with them, just shouting up and down. I'm like, where do you think it is? And then I turn to my left and I just see this camo box. I'm like, oh, I found it.
Yeah.
So I grab it, write our names in it, and then I put it back.
But so the way you were sitting though, you like we were straddling a tree that was growing out of the side of the cliff, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
at that point, I was still tied to another ledge above me, and then so that I wouldn't, if I slipped off the thing, I wouldn't fall.
Yeah.
I sat like on like a bunch of like growing plants.
Yeah.
I almost want to say that one of us was at the top with you though. 'Cause
I think Hunter was.
I think.
I
yeah,
think did I end up coming up to the top? Because I feel like I remember looking down
You
and
came
seeing
up
Jared.
when I was coming up because
yeah, at some
Oh,
point.
okay.
there was there were some complications.
Yeah.
So another thing that I should mention is as I was climbing down, there was some like vines growing on the side of the mountain that I like grabbed on with my forearm to help me lower myself down.
Mhm.
And then I sat down on this like bed of vegetation, and I got the geocache, shined it, and then I put it away, and then I thought it's gonna be harder to go up
Mhm.
because I think it'll be more difficult than like lowering myself down.
Yep.
So I saw that I could just like go up a bit and then just kind of walk along a ledge that was already made in
Yeah.
to get to like again those switchbacks.
Right.
So that's what I did. I started walking, and then as I'm walking, I hear what sounds to be like bees, and I'm looking in the tree, like all the trees around me, just to see like if there's a bee's nest, and I can't hear a thing. But I hear bees like literally next to me, but I can't see anything. And as I'm walking, like I think both of you had made it up to the cliff at that point, and you were helping pulling me up.
Yeah.
And then I started getting stung, and I got stung in the leg, and then stung in the butt. And I'm pretty sure it was because it was a ground wasp nest that I was just walking over.
Yeah.
So eventually I got stung, and then you guys pulled me up on top of the cliff, and then we walked down, and then we did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got the log.
At the end of the day,
Yeah.
we got the
The
cash.
prestige was like insane.
That's
It was
probably
like-
to date. That's the one I'm most proud of us
It
getting.
was
That
a 5-star terrain, which there are very few around here.
Yeah.
And the difficulty was probably close to that too.
I think it was like a 4. I
think it
remember
was like
it
a
was
4.
it was the closest thing to a 5.5 we had seen at that point.
I think so. I'd have to look, but yeah, it was close.
Yeah. And even just
Yeah.
like us looking back on
Yeah,
it,
and
it's kind of
again, we were
apparent.
like the first people to log it, and I'm pretty sure several years, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
long enough that it was,
I don't regret it,
no way.
No.
even after the repercussions.
Yeah.
What were the repercussions, Jack?
The repercussions were the vines that I've been grabbing on and lowering myself down was poison ivy. And the vegetation I had sat in was poison ivy. And I'd found out that I was severely allergic to poison ivy. And I almost had to skip graduation for high school.
That's right. It was like
Oh my gosh. It
4
was like
days before
Yeah,
graduation, too.
because it was just like the entire back of my legs and my entire forearms from wrist to shoulder on both sides were covered in just poison ivy. And the medication that I was taking, that was the best medication for poison ivy. Turns out I was also severely allergic to. And then not to mention the bee sting that I got on my butt allowed it to get into my blood, and I developed a very bad skin infection, and it was just compounding all the
It's
bad.
like the worst possible circumstance you could
Yeah.
have.
But that's okay. I don't regret it.
Yeah. Well,
I wish
it's,
it
it's
would've
easy
gone
for us.
differently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's easy for us that we don't regret it because I think I got away scot free. I didn't
Yeah,
even think I
both
got
of
an
us
amp
did.
bite. And I think
Yeah.
I just witnessed greatness in
Jared
the
took all the
making.
damage down, but he was the one that found the cache.
Yeah.
He was the one that repelled with a small
I took
rope.
all the risk,
Yeah, exactly.
and I would rather take poison ivy than fall.
Yeah.
Yeah. That
Or
was
what
fair.
about take poison ivy over not signing the geocache?
I remember watching you go down, and I was remember being so concerned. I was like, I feel like this is gonna go.
I was like,
not
I
the
don't
way
think I
we
can
want it
call
to.
911 out here. Like, there's no.
Well,
service.
yeah, but then also like we were high enough because so if if we're gonna say between 35 to 50 feet, you went how much far? Like maybe 10 feet, a little bit less.
I was not 10 feet above the ground. I
No,
was
no,
maybe
10
20.
feet down the cliff.
Yeah, 10 feet down.
So you probably still had like 30 feet below you that had the rope severed or had you slipped or something.
Enough that it would have been.
It
yeah.
would have been severely
Pretty
injuring,
gnarly.
maybe deadly.
Yeah. So that was.
Yeah, but that was again one of the biggest things that we've ever done.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we did
Pretty
it.
sure
And
the tree you tied your rope to was like coming out of the ground too.
yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely very scuffed.
I don't know if we could
Everything.
repeat that.
Yeah.
I don't know if the conditions would ever be
We were
right.
probably lucky that the poison ivy and the bee sting and the infection was the worst
worst,
of
yeah.
the
Yeah.
repercussions.
Because we also got lucky in the sense of, I think we didn't really plan too much, like other than bringing the jump rope.
No.
I think it was like a combination of, we were lucky that, I guess unlucky in the sense like poison ivy, but lucky that there was a tree to grab onto,
Yeah.
and lucky that
Jared knew what
we
he was
had
doing
enough
with it.
rope, and Jared was adept enough to
Yeah,
kind of go down
I was
the-
conscious enough to be like, because I knew I wanted not to be like dumb and just tied around my waist.
And yeah.
Yeah.
So I tied it kind of like remembering from middle school whenever we did the climbing stuff.
Yeah.
We had harnesses.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I know tied around your legs and tied around your waist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then worst case, that's enough of something that I know for a fact that the rope would have never come off me. So the only thing that was really stopping me from falling was
the
what I
tree.
tied it to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I'm lucky, I think,
Yeah.
that all worked out. Yeah, and like you
Yeah,
said,
very.
no regrets.
On the same note, another kind of more dangerous geocaching story is the time that I think in the winter
Yeah.
we drove. I think we drove to my house
Yeah.
and
What?
we drove to
We
Giant's
drove, we
Neck.
drove near his house.
And
Okay.
instead of turning to go to Giant's Neck, we went right and we just went straight past the trailer park all the way down.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we went to, I think it's like, it was a school or like a baseball field kind of thing.
Ye-
It
something-
was
a
right near
park,
a
maybe?
lake.
Yeah.
Yes. A
And,
pond. Let's not
Yeah.
pond. Too
Sorry.
generous.
well, it was big.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty big.
Big enough that it would freeze up enough that you could walk over it.
Yeah.
Hypothetically.
And
Hypothetically,
hypothetically,
of course.
there was geocaches around, and then hypothetically, someone wanted to walk on the ice.
Yeah.
Which it should be noted that within the pond was probably like, honestly, I say this one might have been like 30 feet wide. At the narrowest part, like the width, that's probably 30 feet, and the whole thing was probably like
100 feet.
yeah,
Yeah, the largest width.
yeah. And then so I guess it might have even been more than 30 feet because in the center of this pond there was
There was a small island.
there was another small island, and so we had gotten there and we'd found the geocache, and we were gonna
There's
head
like a
back.
little dock in the.
Yeah,
pond.
yep. And I guess we just wanted to check out how thick the ice was. So we were like throwing rocks or whatever.
Yeah,
and
well, that's not a little like bleats or.
yeah, because it made like a kind of funny noise.
Yep.
And the ice was pretty thick. So hypothetically speaking, somebody probably could walk on the ice.
Yes, someone
and get to
could.
the island. Less hypothetically speaking, I did walk on the ice because I wanted to see if it was possible for me to get to the island. So Jared was stomping on the ice to see if he could break it because we were doing a stress test.
That's right.
To see if I was going
Slamming
to
his whole
fall
body weight
through.
on the-
Because
So
if I could, if I can survive the ice, both of them and
Yeah.
Kevin the most can definitely survive it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Jared was stomping away, wasn't budging. The lake was mighty indeed.
But one thing you have to remember is the ice that I was standing on was right next to the dock near the shallow water,
Yes.
which was frozen the thickest, not the ice that was.
Well, I think they say that like a truck could drive over like 4 inches of ice, right? Like because just the density of water,
I guess so.
or like of ice, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
So you don't actually need like
A ton.
Like an inch thick of ice, like solid, is actually more than you'd think.
Yeah, but we didn't know how thick. Like we didn't know if it was perfectly like a slope, or
Yeah.
if it was just like a goes and then sheer drop.
Indeed, it was actually.
Yeah.
So
Because as you went out,
yeah, so as I go out, I'm walking on the ice and I'm being careful. I had just read like a Nat Geo article. It was like polar bears, despite weighing like a ton, they kind of like slide on the ice. They don't step, they like glide.
Yeah, they
So I was,
distribute their weight.
yeah, so I was gliding on the ice, and then I was like, oh, this is so easy. Like it's just like ice skating rink.
Yeah.
So I start taking steps, and then I'm about halfway in the lake, so I'm probably like 30 feet offshore, 30 feet to the island, and then that's where it gets to the point where the ice starts to get thin enough to crack. and I take a step, and just a huge crack that goes maybe like 8 feet to my left. And then they heard that, and then Jared was like, do you remember what he said?
I said I'm not gonna go out and save him.
Yeah,
I'll tell his mom what he did at his funeral.
And so at that point, I was sunk cost fallacy, and I was like, I could definitely make it to this island. And I wasn't necessarily concerned with how I was going to make it back. I just knew I could make it to the island.
Yeah.
Because that was the point of prestige for me. That was my geocaching journey. So I start walking, and then the ice starts cracking more. And then it made perfect sense at the time. I thought, if I started running, I'll run faster than the ice below me can crack, and I'll make it to the island safely.
Big brain.
So I start running, and then the ice is like breaking beneath my feet. I'm jumping off like ice shards, and I finally get to the island, and the whole island is maybe like the size of your bed. Like it's not island is gracious. It
Maybe
was
5 foot diameter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Almost straddled the whole thing.
Yeah, and there was like a baseball on there, and I don't even think we kept the baseball. I think I left it on the island actually, or I think I gave it to you and you threw it back. I remember.
Threw it either on the ice or back into the pond.
I think you threw it back onto the island because
That sounds likely.
yeah. So then I was there, and then it was just a matter of turning around. But as I'd mentioned, I had kind of destroyed my path back.
Yeah.
So I had to do like kind of like a weird loop. I think at one point I laid down on the ice and I crawled for a little bit because I was concerned it was going to be too thin to support my standing weight.
Yeah, I remember there was like part of it near the edge where we were standing that wasn't like, it was like visibly not thick.
Yeah.
You know, we're like, I hope he doesn't have to come back through this section to get
Yeah.
back onto dry land.
Yeah. Which actually, funny enough, just a quick aside, I think that actually inspired another ice walk that Hunter and I had done.
No, that was after.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
after.
this one was, so I'd already climbed ice once before that?
Yes.
Okay.
The first ice walk though, it was earlier in the winter.
Okay, so the
Colder.
ice was much, yeah, because there's
Yeah.
a truck or something on the ice, right?
There were people ice fishing.
Wasn't there like some kind of trailer or something on the, I remember seeing,
I think
because
there
it was
an
thick.
ice fishing tent.
Some equipment was set up.
It was, that ice was pretty safe. I didn't feel
They had
at
the little
risk.
fat auger and everything. But
Yeah.
yeah, that was cool. That was there was a geocache that was about a mile by trail around the perimeter of a pond.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, it's winter. There's not much daylight left.
Yeah.
You know, big brain Kevin and Hunter were like, you know what? We'll just walk across.
Yeah.
You can basically see it from right here. We'll just walk across, and we did it. It was like 10 minutes of walking across the pond. It was very serene.
Yeah.
The sun was setting. We crossed the pond. We got that shit,
Yeah.
and then walked back, and it was no risk. No.
I think we beat the sunset too.
think
Like
we
it
did,
was,
yeah.
we had like an hour of daylight left, and we got back with like 30 minutes.
that was
still.
like the most G cache find ever.
Yeah. I mean, maybe not.
Well, okay.
The mountain.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, but it was a good one nevertheless.
I think that one was before the mountain though, because I think we were still.
was before
we
the
were still. So I think at that point that had been the most risk we'd potentially put ourselves in for
Yeah.
a cache until Jared shattered the record forever.
It definitely remains there still, I think.
I'm
Yeah.
willing to break it.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, we'll have Kevin on for another guest episode, and he'll let Jared tell the story of a more dangerous cache somehow, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, no, we can go do a more.
we'll have to
dangerous
find one.
That's what I'm saying.
We'll do a 6-star.
A 6-star.
We'll create one.
The rare 6-star difficulty.
I think there was one. It was like a buoy or something. That was like a 5-star terrain because you had to
Yeah.
get out to the buoy. That
Yeah.
was like a little bit off.
Yep. There are still some around where we lived that are 5-star terrain.
Mm.
Some of them are in the water and rivers and lakes and stuff.
Mm.
The one on the cliff face is 5 because you're supposed to use climbing equipment to get there. I think
Yeah.
if I recall, actually, on the page, the database for that geocache, there were all caps warnings like, do not attempt this cache unless you have climbing experience, equipment, and personnel.
Yeah.
We kind of didn't really we had one of those things. We had experience.
But
definitely
not
had-
with the climbing even. Well, I guess Jared had
I definitely had
his.
climbed things before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say I was the most novice because I think I had not climbed really, and I had no experience in.
I mean, it happened though, so
That's true.
It's
It's still very impressive. I would be surprised if we were to top that ever.
We have one other story. It wasn't on a geocaching trip per se, but
Yeah.
we were geocaching. Well, we were later. Oh no, actually, wait.
No, I think in the beginning of the day we were geocaching and we were heading home at that point. So I guess that brings up a good point. So within the geocaching app, you can pay for like a yearly subscription.
Yeah.
And then in paying, you get access to like, they call them like premium caches.
Well, I
And-
think it's any cache that has 3 or more stars in either category. That's
Yeah.
premium.
Yeah. So
So-
we had the free version, so we didn't see premium ones, but if you go to the website, it tells you like it's like a grayed out version. Like there is
Yeah.
one here, but it won't give you any information.
You can
for
see
it.
them overlaid on the map.
Yeah.
And I think you could go on the page and kind of see a little bit of the data. I don't remember now. We have premium now. So it's not
Yeah.
an
So
issue.
yeah.
But yeah, so we were able to kind of finesse the location and like a brief description of this cache that had been hidden like within the day that we saw it on the website.
Yeah.
And I think this was the first one that the three of us ever found together.
Yeah.
We were like,
yeah.
we gotta go snag the FTF for first to find.
I think
That's
it
like
was it after? I think we. I don't know if it was me and you or you and me, but I think we found it during one of our classes when we were on the school computers in the library.
yes, that's right. Yep.
And we were looking
located
at the
on
map. And then I think you saw that it was like just posted either today or like the day before.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I think after school we all got into one car and we drove up on the highway for a bit.
Yep.
Well, we had gone to the neighborhood because that was where we were walking, like on that beach neighborhood, because we'd already. So actually, I wonder if
It was a different day from the ice one.
No, I know it was a different day, but do you remember the one where we had parked?
In front of that guy's house.
No,
Oh.
no. Wait, which one? I'm talking about like the neighborhood where it was like a beach type neighborhood, and there was like one of the caches was like in a bush.
Yeah, that was the same day as the ice.
Oh, that was the same as the ice.
Yeah.
Really?
As
Okay.
the ice with you on the island.
Oh wow.
But
Yeah.
before that was when we went and got the one near the highway. That were
Yeah.
Okay,
because that
yeah,
was
gotcha.
that was like
The first
what,
one we did together.
Like 3 minutes, 5 minutes away from the school.
yeah, that was really
Yeah.
close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were able to do that, but I think again, it was a premium cache or something,
Yeah.
and we didn't know when we got there. There's like it's just off an exit from
Yeah.
the highway, so there's like a little like dirt turnaround.
Right onto like a back road, basically.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
literally like you pull off, and then we immediately parked on a little dirt path that was right off the highway.
Yeah.
Was that
And
when
then
I
we-
hit my car?
That was you bottomed out on a rock. So
Yeah.
It made the most horrible noise.
Yeah.
And then we were like, we didn't know where it was. We just knew it was in this vicinity.
Yeah, and like the
Yeah.
only structure really, aside from like a guardrail, was the exit sign on the highway.
Yeah.
And
And then I think
lo and
I
behold,
reached up and grabbed it.
yeah, we so went up to that sign. It's like literally between the on and the off ramps at this exit.
It's maybe 20 feet away from the highway.
Yeah,
Yeah. We had to cross a road to get it.
we get up there and we're like, it's got to be somewhere in the sign. I mean, a lot of geocache containers that Kevin and I had seen before were magnetic like key holder containers. They're like plastic. They have a magnetic base. And we figured it would be one of those since it was a metal sign. It was probably tucked up in there somewhere. But it was probably 8 feet off the ground or 7. I don't know.
It was at the top of this massive sign, so.
Well, so I remember it was tall enough that had Jared, because I think Jared's taller than
Yeah.
the tallest of us.
Another
by,
fun fact of
Oh yeah,
Jared's the tallest.
yeah. He's
Yes.
how tall are you, Jared?
6'5", 6'6",
So
somewhere
yeah,
around there.
so he has more than half a foot on the tallest between us.
Yeah.
And so we're walking, and so we're under the sign, and we're literally staying below the sign, and the bottom of the sign is like probably 6.5 feet in the air. So even like me reaching up,
Yeah.
I couldn't reach it. And so then Jared walked up, and he's kind of like slaps the inside of the sign, and he pulls it down. And it was, I just remember it was a funny moment because it was like, it was the most fortunate event that we had happened to bring our like the tallest person we knew with
Yeah.
us, and only he could have reached it because
Yeah,
there was no chance Hunter and I could have
Perhaps
reached
we
that.
could use this to our advantage in the
Yeah.
future.
Ooh.
And the letdown though is we weren't the first to find.
Yeah.
I think
We
it
were the
was
second.
when we went actually to go get it. It was the second day that it had been.
Yeah,
publicly
it was
visible.
either the day prior or 2 days prior when it was first like
Released.
put out there.
Yep.
And I think it said no one had found it on the website,
Yep.
but when you like whenever you do a geocache, there's like a little log book or like a piece of paper where you can
Yeah.
write your name. And when we did that, we saw one other name before us.
Yep.
Yeah.
from like the day before, or even
Yeah.
that day maybe. It was
Yeah.
just, like super recent.
Like in the morning when we
I think
were
that's
in
when it
class.
was. Yeah,
It's also worth noting that since we didn't have premium, we weren't actually able to log the cache on the
That's right, I
website.
forgot about that.
So we had found it, and I don't think we eventually bought premium. I think we logged that one like
Yeah.
months later,
Probably.
but at the time we had kind of unofficially found it. Like we were never able to log it on the
Yeah,
website.
it was an illicit
So-
find.
Yeah, it was an illicit find. It was.
We logged it on the sheet, which I think is more important.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
That's true.
That's the biggest piece of evidence that you can
Yeah,
say that you
physical
found
sheet.
the cache. But
Um,
and that was. Did we ever come up with a name for our cache troop?
Cash Crew. Yeah, we called it the Mountain Climber Club. at
Yeah, I
one point.
think once we climbed the mountain, we did the mountain climbers.
Yeah.
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 But
Yeah. Well, that's a funny story.
okay, so the story I was trying to think of, but it wasn't the right time to tell it.
Yeah.
Jared and I were spending time together before going catching with Kevin in the afternoon. So we had met up in the morning, and we knew about a little.
Well, you told me about it.
Yeah, I told you about a town-owned property. It was like a few acres maybe, and it was kind of in the space between people's yards in like a neighborhood.
It was a small trail.
It's tiny. The trail was, barely established. I think Boy Scouts in the town had maybe cleared it out at one point and made like a tiny map. It was like 1 or 2 lines basically. It was a tiny, tiny little area. But, I think still worth checking out regardless. And we went there. We crossed the entire thing in like 15 minutes because it was tiny. And it happened to border on the back on a development that was relatively new in our town. So the
Yeah,
back of it was
Costco.
adjacent. Yes, it was adjacent to a new Costco that I think had been finished being built. at
Yes,
that
it
point.
was completed within maybe the week.
I think they were working on the on ramp at that point.
Yeah.
No,
Was
no,
it
it was
already-
done.
The on ramp was done as well.
So
Like, no, it was open at the
for
time.
Oh,
for
really?
perspective, the Costco was built next to the highway.
Yeah.
And there's kind of like a sort of industrial area. Have you ever have seen general roadside America? Like you get off a highway and there are gas stations and shops and hotels and things. It's that kind of area. So there's the trees are cleared out in that area for between like the highway
And
off
they
ramp and
were-
the Costco.
Yeah,
So
and they
it's a-
were still doing construction
Yes.
on other stuff in like a lot
Yeah,
back
I think there was a
towards Costco.
residential like development
Yeah.
behind the Costco as well that hadn't really been started, quote unquote, yet. But so we were on the edge of this Costco development site, or the back of it anyway, where like all the dirt that they had removed to build the Costco site had been displaced,
Yeah,
and there was like one of those sort of vinyl kind of sheets wrapped around it, like on wood stakes. And well, I guess this is not property we could go on, but
but it was
was
a
the back
massive.
it was an enormous pile of dirt and mud
Yes,
and stone. Like from when we were standing at the bottom, it was like 20 feet above us.
it was more.
No,
It was way more.
I think Jared has a problem with
was it as
scaling
high,
things
as high as a
very
house? Would you say
Higher.
higher than a house?
It had. You had to remember, it had 3 tiers that
That's
a car could drive up. It's,
yeah, because the backhoes had to drive in a circle, like a
yeah,
spiral to get.
it was
up.
massive.
Yeah,
It was
Wait,
maybe
right,
20
the-
feet a tier.
yeah.
20 feet a tier?
Yeah, because you could see it
Yeah.
was maybe the car lanes of the spiral up was probably as wide as this room.
Yeah, it was wide enough that like a big backhoe,
Like
could
a
drive
dump
up
truck.
it.
Yeah.
They had to go in a
Okay,
spiral up to
interesting.
the top. It was
I guess I've never actually seen it, but
huge one.
my
Yeah,
But
I only heard the
the
legends.
big
my understanding
problem
was that it was not
Yeah.
60 feet in the air.
It wasn't 60, but it was
it was definitely tall.
at least 20
Okay.
from where we were at the base of the
Yeah.
property.
So we were like, all right, we can climb this. It's just dirt.
Well, there was a little bit of risk evaluation there. And we're like, this is the back of a currently in progress
It
development.
didn't
site.
look like anyone was there.
It didn't. Well, because it was all obscured by the huge ass
Yeah.
pile of dirt in front of it.
So the other complication though was excuse me, I think the day after Christmas,
I think so. Yeah.
and it was really cold. So the dirt was wet from snow,
Yep.
but also frozen solid. And because it was like 9 in the morning or something really early when we started doing it,
Yep.
the sun had come out and started to melt it.
It was overcast. I thought.
It was something to the point where the snow had melted, but it was still cold. And
Yes.
it was the dirt turned to just cold mud.
Yes, you're right.
So the problem we had was just agonizingly trying to climb up this mountain and not get
Mud all over or something.
yes,
Yeah.
completely.
Like when you would, it's like almost like a 45-degree angle we were going up.
And I think you were in jeans.
Yeah. I
and
mean,
a coat.
I had boots. Jared had
Yeah,
this.
I had sneakers and shorts on,
That's right.
and I started climbing up, and we were like grabbing onto just like twigs and roots that were just in there.
Loose things in this mud pile. Like when you would step, your foot would go like at least 6 inches.
And
into the
eventually
dirt.
we got to a point where like you'd push down enough where you could make like a foothold,
Yeah.
and then you could slowly go up before your foot just slid right down.
Yeah.
And dirt fell. So we did this a couple times, and we eventually got to like the peak of this thing.
Yeah.
And we look over and we see people going in and out of Costco, and we see that it's active construction. So there's people walking. We're like, oh, we should probably
Yeah,
get
there are
going.
vehicles moving around.
Yeah. So
But it was a pretty good view from up top.
it was really
You could
nice.
see all the way across the highway. Like you could see it.
Did we take a picture?
We must have.
We did.
Yeah.
You might have it.
Yeah. I'll take a look.
But the harder part was coming down because
Understatement.
it was trying to go down, but because you're going down, you're also pushing this mud that's just sliding down this massive hill. And then eventually got to the point where I don't think you got it bad.
We got to the bottom tier and we were like, let's just run down. Like, how bad could it be?
Yeah, because at like the bottom tier was more sloped than
Yeah.
the other tiers, which are kind of
steeper.
like steeper.
Yeah.
So I think you ran down, but you slipped,
Yes.
and you kind of got your whole like from your knees to like your waist
Yeah.
was a little bit,
Like my shirt tail too.
and then I got a brick from the top of the thing and I threw it down, and then I started like crab walking down, but then I slipped, and then I just slid the entire length of the thing down, and then from my shoes to like my shoulder blades was just mud.
The whole side of your body.
Yeah. And then at that point I was covered in mud, and so we had to walk back through this trail.
Yeah.
And
We stopped at
we stopped at a river or a small stream running through the forest, and we washed our arms and hands and then dried it off with nature's paper towel, moss.
Yep.
And then I kept like spare shorts and a t-shirt and a towel in my trunk.
Yeah, it was just like fortunate
So
circumstance.
I like quickly changed like in this dead end.
and
then I was like,
way to pull over.
And then I was
get to
like,
the
yeah, I'm gonna go home and change.
Yeah.
So I just drove home, changed, and then drove to your house.
And we continued caching that day, didn't we?
Yeah, I think we did.
think
Linked up
so,
with Kevin.
yeah.
But that was the story of Doo Doo
Doo-Doo
Mountain.
Mountain.
Yeah.
First to climb, first to find.
First to summit, yeah. That was iconic.
Yeah, I've yet to go. That was what, a year ago? What did you say?
That was just this past winter.
Almost a year.
Wait, no way.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was just previous Christmas.
yeah, the one that just passed.
Really?
Yeah.
I think that felt like
year
forever ago.
Well, a lot of things happened.
that is
between
true.
now and then.
It's time is a weird way of
Yeah.
interesting.
But I think that's probably a
That's the best stories we have.
good, yeah.
Yeah.
The rest are, I mean, we found cool containers and things, but at least the entertaining stories, those are all of them.
Mm-hmm. You must mentioning people just caching too.
Yeah.
Like I think one time we found like another cacher that was looking
Yeah,
for.
we did.
We saw our English teacher one time.
Oh yeah, that's right. We were
He was walking his dog, but we were also.
Well, yeah, we were covered in mud, looking at a rock
it was
wall.
the same
And I think
gang
at
from
that
Dungeons
point,
and Dragons too.
I
Yeah.
was sharpening a stick with
Yeah.
a Swiss Army knife, and then
So we looked really suspicious.
Yeah.
Meddling about in the woods on like a sort of dark winter day, and our previous English teacher came running by.
Also our cross country coach. At the
Yes,
time.
also yes, ran by. I said, "What's up, guys? What are you doing?" We had to act like it was totally casual, like, "Oh, we're just
Yeah.
looking for a hidden box in the woods."
And it was a rusty ammo crate as well.
Yeah, that's right.
So I was holding a rusty like ammo crate in my hands.
Yeah, with your
and our
hood up.
teacher was like, "Hey, what on earth are you guys doing?"
Like, I feel like I shouldn't have seen you guys doing this right now.
Yeah.
Sorry we intruded onto your nice day.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, lots of things have happened like that.
Yeah, geocaching.
Maybe
is-
the past like 2 years, that's almost been like the default.
Yeah.
On days that have been nice and we want to go do something, yeah, just go out geocache.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a good time.
Mhm.
Oh man. Anyway, to finish up, we're gonna hit our word of the day segment one more time.
Mhm.
Kevin, our guest, has
has
a
a
you have a
word
definition
or
or a
definition.
A
today?
definition.
Ooh, okay.
So okay, here hopefully I do a good job explaining this. So my definition, and I have like an idea for the beginnings of a word.
Okay.
So the definition is when you're suddenly accosted by an unexpected like sound or music. So like an example of this is like You get in your car to drive to school, you turn it on, and then boom, like just music's at top volume, and you're like, why was I listening to it this loud?
Yeah.
Or like someone goes to show you like, oh, like watch this funny video, and then they hand it to you and give you an earbud,
Yeah.
and it's the earbud's at max, and it's like just the loudest video you've ever heard in your entire life, and just like that jolt of like, oh my god,
Okay.
what on earth am I listening to?
So I think this is like a noun. You're like, man, like you showed me
Yeah.
this video, but then the blank scared the crap out of me.
Yeah.
Or like
So-
I was not expecting the blank.
Yeah. So my original foundation for the word was like a sonar blast or something.
A sonar blast.
But open to I don't like that, but
I blast is good.
Maybe audio.
Audio, sound. What is the root for audio and sound?
phono.
Phono, yeah. Phono blast. Blast phono.
I've been
Blast.
phono blasted.
Something a little more concise.
Okay.
Phonoscare.
No, I feel like that's less concise.
Phono
shock.
Phonoshock.
Phonoshock.
Yeah. Or audio shock. No, that's kind of stupid.
No, Phonoshock sounds good.
I like phonoshock.
So you feel
Phonoshock
like-
is.
I mean, I got in my car, but like, I mean, I can't keep leaving the volume up because the phono shock is too much to handle in the morning.
Yeah.
I kind of like that.
Yeah. Or like my friend was showing me a video and he phonoshocked me because he listens to Brockhampton at max volume or something.
He has severe earwax buildup and he can only listen to his headphones at full
Oh,
volume.
gross.
Yeah.
I'm
And then-
tired of the phono shock, man. You got to get your ears checked out or something.
Yeah, something like that.
That's
I
a
like it.
Good definition. Add that to the Tagonda lexicon.
Yeah.
So Phonoshock noun.
Mm-hmm.
To
Well, it's not two. It's phono shock is
What do you mean?
you want to define it again one more time?
Phonoshock
Oh,
noun.
So phonoshock is a sudden burst of sound that is unexpected, I would say.
Okay. I mean, most of the time, like in a digital context.
Yeah, yeah.
Or
Yeah, it wouldn't
electronic
be
context.
it wouldn't be like a dog barking or something. It would be like okay, let me rephrase. A sudden burst of unexpected sound originating from a digital source
Okay.
or electronic source
That's fine with me.
is what I would say.
Phonoshock.
Phonoshock.
Phono shock. Sounds good. All right. This is a fun episode.
Yeah.
Jared's birthday special.
Yeah.
If you want to call it that.
Happy birthday, Jared.
But yeah, to wrap up, I'm Hunter.
I'm Jared.
And I'm Kevin.
And we're going to put you guys on hold. So we'll see you next time.